Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. Today, the Hungry Gamer is back with another episode of Boards and Brews, and today we're doing a bit of a shortened one, little follow-up on KublaCon, and we're joined by Mark, who has won, I believe, almost every competition giveaway that we've done. I believe, was it your fourth one that you just won?
Something like that, yeah.
Though I will say, he didn't
Did not
really
know
win
that.
that one. He won the redraw on
Yeah.
that one because the first person didn't ever contact me, which I feel bad about. So, person, if you have in your email that you won, reach out and I'll send you something. But it won't be Cloudspire. Or you can show up to Mark's house and you can take it.
At 7:30 in the morning.
Yes, you got to be there at 7:30 in the morning. I want to talk about that in 1 second. But Mark, before you did jump in, we got the rapid fire questions. Who the crap are you? And what's your brewed beverage today?
My name's Mark. I am a friend of the Hungry Gamer, and I used to work in the puzzle and board game store in Boston for 4 years, and I try and play board games as much as I can. I've recently been starting to play with my 3.5-year-old kid. And the brew that I have is a Earl Grey with lemon and then some Chinese herb tincture mixed in.
Wow, that sounds like way more classy than us. All right, Don, what's your brewed beverage this morning?
I am drinking an Americano that I made here at home out of my Star Wars or my Tatooine Starbucks cup, which is in honor of the fact that I'm going to Disneyland next week. So I'm excited to see the Star Wars area. I haven't been.
Yeah, and I have just some coffee from my wife's coffee club that I got her for Christmas out of my Omicron protocol mug.
Hey.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So jumping on in here. So Don and I spent the entire weekend at KublaCon. Mark came for just 1 day because he's got stuff to do. He's more important than we are. And so just kind of want to start just your general overview. What was it like for everybody? Because everybody, KublaCon was kind enough to invite me to cover the convention. So this is part of the KublaCon coverage that we're doing here. And so I just went and I just mostly just played games. Don was working in the Produce Spiel room. Very important person. He was in charge of all the food in the Produce Spiel room. And Mark's thinking, what food? I didn't see any food in the Produce Spiel room.
Yeah, I missed out.
Yeah. So that's a thing. And then Mark just came to play for a day. So Don, how was your overall experience?
It was good. I was not signed up for any games. I've decided I don't really like feeling scheduled at cons because inevitably I'm scheduled to go to a game and then somebody says, "Hey, you want to play this much better game?" So I've stopped signing up for anything. I love that it's there. You know, my son, my youngest son, loves RPGs. And so he always goes and plays, several 6 or 8 hour games while we're there. And so that's great. Adrian was there as well, my other son, and his boyfriend Corbin. Uh, it's always a blast. I love taking the kids to cons, and KublaCon is one of our favorites, of course. We've been going since 2017. We went in 2016, but we were overwhelmed and left after a couple hours. But that was when we were brand new to cons and we just kind of didn't know what to do with ourselves. But since 2018, we've been going pretty religiously.
So your son, your youngest son, did two things at the convention that just made me laugh really hard. One was like it's hard to get into the RPGs because our
Yeah.
um Mark and I, the person we played games for named Max, he regularly goes to play RPGs and he often just he doesn't get in. He can't get in. But so Willie, your son was in a game and he came and oh, don't you have a game? He's like, yeah, I'm not gonna go. And that just sounds like, what? Why would you do that? Well, I was like, oh, teenager. But the other thing that really made me laugh was the last morning we were playing Woodcraft with Peter Vaughn, and Peter Vaughn was nice enough to bring a bagel for me. And his bagel was sitting there, and your son walked up and was like, is this bagel for anybody? It's not what he said, but that was definitely like the energy of it. And Peter was like, no, that's Peter's. He's like, oh, okay.
It was
And,
something more like, is this bagel going to be eaten? Or
oh,
something like that.
yeah. And it
He
was
does
just
not like to see food go to waste.
and it was just this
We'll say
beautiful
that.
moment of teenager. Like,
Yes.
Like, what do you think's gonna happen with it? Anyhow, that made me laugh intensely in like the best way. All right, Mark, how was your overall 1 day experience?
That was great. This is my second year coming to KublaCon. And this time I just hung out with you at the Pro Spiel, or right outside the Pro Spiel, which when you texted me to meet you guys at the Pro Spiel, I was like, was that a spelling error? I don't know what this is. So later finding out that that's where all the prototypes get tested is really that, like, just learning that that is a element of the con is awesome. Like I love that that's a part of it. Yeah, I mean the big highlight for me was being able to play most of the games that I played with the designers of the games. So that was really special and really cool. And hanging out with you, Will.
Yeah, just distant third, right? Because you also came home with like 6 games.
Yeah, well, yeah, I definitely, I mean, all because of you, but yeah, there was a little bit of trading of winning prizes to get some games that I will play. So I got to play a game with my kid. So that's great.
Oh, you tried that out with them.
Yeah, and it went really well. It went really
good.
well. Yeah.
So one of the things that they do at the Proto Spiel, and at least here the ones in the Bay Area, is they always have a raffle. Or no, that would be illegal. That would be gambling. A drawing. A bunch of publishers will donate a whole bunch of games, and there was a wall of games. I wish I had a picture of it.
I was so many games. I was so impressed.
And a lot of them were already gone, because that was
Really?
that was Sunday that you were there, right?
Yeah.
A lot were already gone. But and if you play in these prototypes, you get tickets, and then they do drawings, and you get stuff. And everybody who had left was just giving me their tickets. Like, okay, if I win something, or if you win something that I would like, just give it to me. Well, I kept winning, but not the stuff that everyone's like, oh, I really want that. I hope I win that. And so I'd be like, hey, Mark, here's a game. Hey, Mark, here's a game. And then Mark took those games and traded like Pokemon cards and like traded up to like a rare game that he actually wanted. And it was an amazing moment and I think he's going to talk about the game he traded up to, so I'm not going to spoil it.
Yeah.
In just a bit. So for me, I had a great time. I always do. It's the biggest con in the area. It might be the biggest California con that's, board games only. I'm not sure. I think they used to make that claim. I don't know if that's true anymore. So I don't know. I'm gonna say you heard it right here. It's the biggest con in California. You heard it.
I believe you.
Yeah. It's a really good time. It's not so big like the Origins is, and the PAX U's, where it's just overwhelming. And I like going to those too. But you can really just go and just play games. It's got a small little vendor hall that you can kind of go through in 20-30 minutes. And I got out of there without buying anything, so I'm proud of myself. And yeah, all in all, it was great. That I thought they had it well organized. They were still checking vaccines and stuff there, which I appreciate. And some people were wearing masks or not wearing masks as they chose. But I went to something not too long ago, and I was wearing a mask, and people were looking at me like I was trash. But none of that stuff going on, so I felt good about that. So all in all, it was another good con. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about our top moments and our best games of the con. Now, this is not the best game in the world, not what we're saying, just the games that were the most fun for us to play. And so, as the most recent guest and the big winner of all the contests, Mark, would you like to go first? And do you want to talk about your top games, or you want to talk about top moments?
Well, they're kind of mixed in together. So
that is not following the rules. You're gonna have so we're gonna start with Don. We're gonna start with Don. Well,
start with Don, and then I'll split them out. Yeah,
unbelievable. I mean, and Deborah, I want you to know, I sent them this outline like 6 hours ago. It is.
I know, and there are 2 bullets.
There's 2 bullet points.
That's not hard to follow.
Yeah. Well, to be fair though, I say I sent it like 6 hours ago. It is 8 a.m. So,
Well, and I spent most of that 6 hours packing up my car to get down to you by 7:30 a.m.
Yes. So we had to get up to do this early, because I really, really wanted to get it done before too long. And Don's an important guy. And so we got up early to do this. And Mark, what was your plan?
My plan was to load up the car, wake up at, I don't know, 6, drive down, pick up some beer, and show up at your doorstep at 7:15. That
And
was
that
the
would,
original plan.
yeah, that would have been so horrible. And so I'm glad I sent, not that I don't might want to see you, but 7 a.m. beer is not what I'm looking for. So, all right, Don, do you want to start with top moments or top game experiences?
Let's do moments since we started with kind of the general vibe of the con. There were a couple of things that I really like. Like the Protospiel was great. I had a lot of fun there. That's not my top moment because that was basically the con. When we go to the conventions, Adrian and I basically live in the Protospiel most of the time. And I was working this time, standing at the door explaining Protospiel to people, and we had heavy traffic. So there was a lot of that. I think one day I spent 4 hours just standing there telling people what Protospiel was. So that was a lot of fun. But I had a friend who I hung out with, Dice Tower West in Vegas in March. He's part of the Big Finger Themer crew.
Who?
And yeah, and he is a designer and he has this whole, worker placement game. Thematically, you are competing composers in 1800 Vienna, and I played it there, and it's a lot of fun. You know, it's a long game. It's not completely finished, but I enjoy it. I like the vibe of it. It's extremely thematic, and I told him you have to bring this, to KublaCon and show it to some of the designers there, and he showed up and played it with a couple, I don't know, 2 or 3 times with folks, and just the fact that he was there. His name's Nathan. The game's called Motifs, and I got to play it with them. Adrian got to play it with them. Johnny Pack played it with them, and so just to have him there, and he's you know super friendly guy, and just kind of brings a positive vibe to situations. So that's one of my favorite moments. And then
Oh,
also
wait,
our
wait, wait,
family.
wait, we're gonna
Yeah,
go
yeah.
round robin,
Go
round
ahead.
robin. Yeah,
Okay.
you don't get to do all yours first, especially because that goes right into one of my top moments, which was playing Motifs
Okay.
with you, and it's a fun game, and you're right, it's needs a little more work to be like done, but it's a fun game. But what stuck out to me about it was not that I won, which is always fun, but I won in a way that it didn't seem like you could win.
Yeah.
And it's this game where you're writing music and stuff, and you start out with the crappy thing you can do is you can do folk music or chamber music, and you get all the way up to doing like symphonies and all those things, and the big points are in the symphonies and
And
whatever the other thing.
operas,
Yeah,
like
the opera.
opera is the peak.
Yeah. And I just did folk music and one piece of chamber music, and I still managed to win. And what's cool about that, the reason it was so cool is because I think that's prime proto spiel, because it showed him that it is hard. You probably won't win. And I got very, very lucky, but it's possible. And that's such a valuable bit of information for a game designer. It's like, yeah, so it's not that you have to go this path. You can go this path. It might not be ideal, but you can actually win, which he seemed very, very, very happy that that happened. It was neat to be part of that. And so that was my one of my two moments. All right, Mark, you've had time to extricate.
Yeah. So one of the moments is when you and I, Will, took a nice walk around the tabletop games and just looked at all I mean, it's art what they're creating in there of the scenarios and the environments.
Oh, the war games he's
Yeah,
talking.
the war games. That was so cool. Just the amount of detail, and like they were wheeling those things in on giant carts. And which one was the game that the war one that was sitting right next to us? It was like, I don't know, it was a World War II war
Oh,
scenario.
yeah, something about Stalingrad and
Stalingrad, yeah. And
yeah, I wish I'd taken a picture of this one.
that one was
It's
incredible.
like, I walked in that morning. It was before Mark was there. Like they were setting up the scenery, and like it's like a full scale model. It's not full scale, but it's this huge model of Stalingrad. And like they're walking around. The guy had like a shaker, and I'm thinking like the green Parmesan cheese things. It was like one of those where he had like sand in it. He was just like tipping
Sprinkling
sand
it
out
in.
into the right spots
I
of the
saw that.
board.
That
And
was really
So cool.
impressive.
I was like, wow. And then you go into we went into the room. There was this like this Vietnam War thing, and they had just the rice patties and the villages, and there's another one that had these, it was like some air battle thing. These
And they even had
planes
clouds that
Yeah.
that would move during the battle, which was super cool. But with that, the Stalingrad one, it after that, when they started packing it up, the dude brought out a trunk, like a World War II trunk that you would store your whatever in when you were traveling, and that's what he was storing some of the pieces in. So the hobbyist element, the like collector detail, it was really great. That was cool to see.
Yeah, anybody, if you ever go to a convention, go find the miniatures war game room and just go look. Especially if you look at like the historicals, because those are like the real tiny little miniatures that are all impeccably
And
painted.
hand painted, yeah.
Yeah, and the stuff that I would never do, like there was one of them the day before you got there. It was some miniature scale, like miniatures, of some old Warhammer thing. I found out later, and it had to be 8 tables put together, and 1/3 of it was like just a castle wall, and this castle wall was, I don't know, 2 feet tall, and just there was 12 people playing this game for like 12 hours,
Wow.
and just
Did not see that one.
oh, it
That's
was
cool.
really cool looking. And I stood there for a minute, and the other funny thing about that room is something about miniatures wargamers, like they don't go in with passion and excitement. They go in with, I must break you. Like that is the energy of the room. And like every now and then there'll be
Really
like
is.
a burst of laughter and joy, but for the most part it's like, you will die.
There's a real patience to it.
Oh
Like they're
yeah.
not in a hurry. They're serious. They're not in a hurry. They're there for that and nothing else. And I admire it.
yeah, it's
I
fantastic.
could not do it.
No. If I'm playing a game that's going to be more than 2 hours, like I really better be into it. Like even to the point to
Yeah.
where I'm going to Origins and someone asked me if I would come check something out. I was like, well, how long is that demo going to be? They're like 3.5 hours. I was like, can we do like an hour demo? Maybe, and you can send it to me later. Like I don't.
I
Like,
used to play Warhammer Fantasy, and I was the dwarves, which you can talk about the incident with the dwarf game that
oh,
we
don't worry, I'm
did.
gonna.
Yeah, good. But I used to love spending 6 to 8 hours or like multiple days on a game. But I would play with this friend of mine who years later is now like a sergeant in the military, and I was just like, okay, that makes sense. You would always destroy me in these games.
That is like that's why you were his friend. He's like someone I can destroy.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm usually the punching bag.
But so yeah, I'll jump into my second moment, and I say this moment just because it was so. Because the end result is why. So we were going to play with Dan George, who is the publisher of August Games, Rise of the Gnomes, and Backyard Chickens, and he has this other game called Treasure Mountain, which I've played once or twice. And it's this worker placement game where kind of the shtick is you can bump other workers. You're a bunch of all dwarves, and you can bump other workers as long as your beard is longer than theirs. You can bump them, take the spot. And so we were going to play with Dan, and we set it up. It was Don, Mark, me, and then Dan. We went up there. We found him, and funny thing about Dan George is he comes to these cons, and they camp out at the table, and they play their games that they've made, and that's what they do, and they have so much fun, and it's a blast. You walk, it's infectious.
He has a whole crew.
Yeah, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's
A
very
few of
infectious.
them are August games, and then they've got their friends, and then this year, and I think probably every year, they made friends at the table next door, and pretty soon those people are sitting at their table, and yeah, it's like a whole party within the con.
It's like the energy is the exact opposite of the war game room.
Yes.
But so we're gonna play this game. I was very excited. So we go up. I tell Mark about it. He's excited about it. We go up, we sit there. I'm like, okay. And Dan says, okay, great. Who's got the game? And everyone looked at him like, you have the game, Dan. Like you made the game. You have the game. He's like, I don't have the game. And then they said, no, you have it. And they went around, and then finally says, no, Dan, we have the text messages. He said, no, I said I'm not bringing the game. And they pulled it up, and it said, Dan said, I'm bringing the game. And that's not what was fun about. What was fun about it, or what's made it a great moment, it was he felt so bad because he wanted to play his game with us so bad, and he is driving up or down. I don't know where he lives.
He's on the Central Coast, so like 4 hours away,
Yeah,
3 or
so
4 hours away.
he's gonna drive down to play this game with us sometime in this month maybe. And to me, that just I love that moment because like none of us cared. Like it was fine. Like he wouldn't play something else. It was okay. But he just wanted it to happen so bad, which I love that moment. And so Dan's pain, I guess, is my second moment.
Other
Put it that
people's
way. It
pain
sounds
is usually your moment.
yeah. It's why I belong in the war gamer room. All right. Whoever wants to go next with their second one.
Yeah, I got a short little one. This is the first time of me experiencing the children train of KublaCon chants, which we were just sitting down at the table, and I started hearing these yellings, and Will leans over and goes, "Oh, here comes the germ, the
Germ train, right?
germ train," and then all of a sudden, this huge line of, I don't know, that must have been like
30. Yeah.
or more kids just shouting "Kubla, Kubla,"
And they're all wearing like
Kubla.
little like a plastic armor and
Yeah. And it was so cute, and like they walked around to the different rooms, and that was nice. That was fun to see. It just like connected the whole event for me. It wasn't just these like individual rooms and stuff. It was this theme that went through. So
yeah, it was very cute. And there was one of the staff would go around that would give somebody like a coin, which was like the tribute. And I have no idea what's going on. I have no like there's clearly some kind of story that's happening here because they're getting tribute and all this stuff, but I don't know. It's very loud. It is
it
very
was
cute,
very loud.
but
Yeah.
it's like everybody, it is so loud.
I was going by right outside the Protospiel room, and multiple people jumped when this noise suddenly started. Like there's just suddenly this cacophony of children shouting, and I can't remember. Like there's some burst of noise that they were doing occasionally, and that's like the first we heard of it, and people jumped. Like, what's going on? But yeah, that happens every year. I think it happened twice, just on Sunday, and yeah, something to do with the kids' room at the con. They get organized. They do this craft thing, making their costumes, and then they do a parade, and they seem to love it. So
That's fun.
yeah.
That's fun.
All right, Don. So what's your other moment?
Oh, just our family plays games. They were kind of the guests at the con this year. It was a lot of fun just getting a chance to chat with them. This is Mick, Starla, and Grant from Our Family Plays Game, the YouTube channel. They're in Omaha, so they came all the way up from Omaha for the convention.
And boy, are they
Adrian,
tired.
uh-huh. Adrian and I had met them at Dice Tower West last year, March 2022, just in the meet and greet room. They were kind enough to do a preview video for Backyard Chickens when it was going on Kickstarter. Yes, that Backyard Chickens. And if you want to hear Mick do like really loud chicken calls, I think that's what he was doing. Go back and find that video. It's pretty
I
funny.
like that. He's like, I think, I mean, it was a game about chickens, but he might have been doing a fox. I don't know.
Well, no, I think he was either doing chicken noises or he was doing a person like calling chickens, which I don't know if that's a thing, but it's
So
really fun.
you have them like they're in your back. Like these chickens are in your backyard. Do you call
Yeah,
them?
I do not, but I think that's what he was doing. Anyway, so they were there. We met them very briefly in the meet and greet room last year, but this year got a chance to kind of actually talk to them. And first Grant showed up with Nathan, the guy I mentioned earlier, in the Protospiel room. And I walked around chatting with them for a while. And, he's an 18-year-old kid, but he's a much more confident, poised, thoughtful 18-year-old kid than I ever was. So it was really fun talking
Just
to
for
him.
everybody, he said thoughtful. I know it may have sounded like awful. He said thoughtful.
Thoughtful. Yes.
I just want to get that
Sorry.
out there because Don would
I'm
not
talking quickly.
Don would not call somebody's kid awful, at least not where it was recorded.
Why not? So anyway, I enjoyed talking to him, and then Mick came in the next day, and we were all talking to Mick for a while, and it was fun to catch up with them. It was a very brief meeting last year, and so it was kind of nice to spend some time talking with them. I know of multiple people that played games with them through the weekend, so they were there, they were present, they were really active, and it was great to see them come out. I hope they do it again.
All right, so moving into our top 3 games, so we're going to 9 games total, and then I guess we'll give Mark an honorable one more for 10, I guess, if he wants it.
Right.
And so just the games that stuck out as the games that were just the most fun for you over the weekend. And I'll jump into the first one because my first one was a game called Heroes Welcome. And this is a game that I dropped my pen. This is a game that I've played with Don Andor, my buddy Max, every con for every local con for the past couple of years. But we've never played with the expansion. Just never done it. And I always want to. It just never happened. And this time the designer was there. And Eduardo Baraf, who is the publisher of the company of Pencil First Games, I said, "Oh, we're going to play this game later. Ed, you want to play?" He's like, "No, but I'll send the designer to play." And so he taught us the expansion. We got to play. He obliterated us. Like I don't think it was remotely close.
Yeah, I definitely got a couple of side glances of like, are you sure you want to do that move? I was like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah, but so just waxed us. But I had such fun, and it's a very clever game with a unique theme and a maybe not totally unique mechanic of where everyone's sharing one worker, but it's really fun. I really like it, and the expansion, I'm never going to play without it again. So that was my number 3. Anybody?
It was also my number 3, so I'm trying to think if I want to throw something else in there so that you have more games talked about. I'm assuming you have Asking for Trobils on your list, so I'm not going to pick that one.
But it's going to be a big deal. We don't know what's going to be. No one knows what the lists are if they overlap. I mean,
Let's talk about Dice Command. You and I played Dice Command, which we have played before. It's a
at
2-player only
cons
game
again. Yeah, it comes
at
out.
cons. It's a great con game. So it's a very simple little skirmish game. You're trying to get your little dice army people across the board into the other player's home zone, and it's a fun game. You're rolling your dice to see what kind of troops you have, and lower numbers are infantry, and higher numbers are heavier troops, and they have different behaviors. Obviously one moves faster but is weaker, the other moves slower, and when your dice come together, if a 6 goes against a 2, the 2 dies, but the 6 becomes a 4, and so now it's a little weaker. And that was fun. It's a great game to just kind of throw on the table when you're in between or you're waiting on other people. And I'm going to mention that. Don't need to go into like all the details of how it's
Yeah.
played, but it's a fun game.
It was an interesting game because like we were the 2 most ineffective army commanders in the history of
We ran the clock out.
yeah, and we almost had the tiebreaker because we almost had nobody on either side. Like Mark, your army buddy would have crushed us.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It was a real soccer game of a board game.
yeah.
Nobody
The score,
scoring.
yeah. Final score is 1-0. Glorious.
Yeah.
All right, Mark. What's your number 3?
Well, so this comes with a story of the game that we swapped out, I would say would be so I had 3 games that I had no knowledge of what they were, and then with some fancy trading, we were able to get Lions of Lydia signed by the creator, Johnny Pack, and it was a great game to play. As Will had said a little bit earlier, I got destroyed in it. Supposedly one of the lower scores that the designer's ever heard.
Yeah, so anybody, if you've ever played this, he scored 19 or 14, and
Something like that. Yeah.
you start with 3. You start with 3. That is literally the lowest score is 3.
But I'm excited now that I have it. I'm excited to get better at it. So
yeah, he's gonna come back to the next con and he's just gonna
destroy
everybody.
I will become the lion.
All right, so but my number 2, and this is the very last game that I played. Don was already gone. It was on Monday, and I was leaving the con. I had said goodbye to a few people in the Protospiel, and I ran into Johnny Pack, who was coming back from lunch. He says, "Hey, you want to try this thing real quick?" I was like, I guess. And so went in, and it's a prototype of a game called Dreamworld. And it is kind of the companion game to Unconscious Mind, which he's one of the main designers on, which is did gangbusters on Kickstarter and whatever, but it's just a little card game. And everybody it's got this kind of not bidding, but you're trying to get farthest away from the card in the middle of the table. So if the card in the middle of the table is a 1, you want to have an 11, because that would give you 10 points. You're getting the points you get are the difference between. And the way you use the points is kind of clever, of like you're flipping over these little heart things, but won't go into that. But the thing is, so if I put the 11 out, I have a range of 10. But if Mark comes in and puts an 8 out, now Mark has a range of 7, 1 to 8, and then my range just dropped to 3 of 8 to 11. And so you're just trying to get these gaps, but outthink everybody else in what the gap is. It was really cool. And it's this beautiful art. The if you're familiar with Unconscious Mind, the art's just beautiful. It looked really cool. And I really, really liked it. And I'm regretting that I didn't do that. Look over there and steal the deck of cards and run away. Like it was really cool. So that's my number 2 game from the con. How about you, Don?
I'm going to mention Critter Kitchen. This is the next big thing coming from Cardboard Alchemy. So this was a prototype that Peter Vaughn, one of the founders of Cardboard Alchemy, had in the room, in the protospiel room.
He of the bagel. Peter Vaughn of the bagel.
Yes, he of the bagel. So Critter Kitchen is their next thing. This is I think our second time playing it. Definitely my second time playing it. I think you've played it down in LA.
Yeah, it's my
as well.
It was my 3rd or 4th time. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a resource management game. You're trying to impress the celebrity chef that's coming to town. You're meeting little challenges in the meantime. You're going shopping for ingredients. It's a fun game. I really enjoy it. I know one of the really cool things about Protospiel is if you've played the game before, you get to see the little tweaks that have been made in between. And so we saw rules changes that had happened that, streamline things or try out new things. And yeah, I think we got there the first day and Peter's like, the designer just sent me notes on things he wants me to try this week. And I'm trying to figure out if I can fit them in. And I know that's a really fun experience. Like this game is not done, but it's really far along and I enjoy it. And the art is already starting to get in there and it's Sandara, the same artist as Flamecraft. So it's going to look very cool. So it was just exciting to get to play that again.
Yeah, that was a fun game to play. And the only thing I want to add to that is when we were playing that, there was this one woman who was just like watching this, was like really intrigued. You could tell she wanted to play. And so I multiple times like, you can take my place. Like I played this game 4 times. Like just no, I'm just gonna watch. And she watched the whole game and was that into it. And I'm happy to say that on the next day she did get to play because I went back in, she was playing. I was like, how much? It was so good.
No, she was camped out in the morning waiting for Peter to show up.
Yeah. So
yeah.
It's
not that she didn't want to take over your seat. It's that she didn't want to play a partial game. She wanted the whole experience.
Yeah, and she good just as well. She didn't take over my seat because I marked that one.
Hey.
I got like 14 points. It was terrible. All right,
Nice.
but on to the number ones. And so the best game.
I didn't get to say my. I didn't.
Oh,
get to
you
say
didn't?
my
Oh, are you
second.
still here, Mark? Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah,
gosh.
I am.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mark.
I had been waiting to play this one for a while because about a year ago I met Don for the first time at your place, Will, and we were talking about Backyard Chicken, and I finally got to play it, and that was awesome to be able to play it with you, and then your son coming around and being able to like say this is great. So I had a lot of fun playing that game.
I appreciate that.
Thanks for teaching me.
And the neat thing about that was we finished, and then someone came by. I was like, "Oh, Backyard Chickens. Oh man!" And then you could tell she's like, "Oh, I really want to play that sometime." And Don's a nice person. He's like, "Well, we can play it again. Like I can shuffle, put it back out." So and then of course that game turned into like Don had to keep getting up and doing stuff, but she stuck around and she played through the whole game. So that was actually really, really cool. And also, I'm happy to say that's the first time I've ever won that game. I've played many times. First time ever, I won. Don usually just has no mercy and just.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah, me too. I'm very happy for me. All right, so my top experience was asking for Trobils, and that game plays best at a high player count, and I'm talking 5, 6, 7 is where that game I think plays best, and that is not easy to get 5, 6, 7 people. And I believe we had 5 people who played, isn't that right? Yeah, we almost had 6. Johnny Pack was going to play, but then he disappeared. So we've got to play a five player game. It's so fast. It's so silly. And the thing that really made me happy is everybody got on board on the nope, you play fast, because if you stop and think about that game, it just bogs down because there's like 3 choices. Like just make one and go. And you just boom. It was a blast. I really liked that game and had a lot of fun. I've talked about it a lot, so I'm not going to go into it. So, but asking for Trobils was my most fun, I think, experience. And we're going to see if when I make my KublaCon video, if this is actually what comes up to be number 1, or if I change my mind the more I think about it. But right now, I feel like those are the top 3.
Yeah, that was a fun. Yeah, it's just it seemed very well designed, and it just fit the mood at that time too. I'll go since I'm talking.
Go for it.
My number 1 was the first game that we played, which was Fistful of Meeples, which was another Johnny Pack thing, and that was so great to just. I love games that have a solid base in like an older simple game. So when Johnny explained that it was based on Mancala, I was like, oh, that's a brilliant idea, because I had never really seen another game that's based like that. And the theme is great of the Old West and shootouts and all the little intricate, the robbers and the sheriffs and all that sort of stuff was just a great addition, and made it much more complicated. And I really wished he kept the wiener dog meeple to, as the dog.
Yeah, so he was testing out a couple of little mini expansions for the game, and one of them was a dog that roams around town, and he didn't have a little dog meeple, and I don't know who found
It was
this.
Don reached into
Yeah,
his
I
bag.
gave it to him. Yeah, there was a designer with a dachshund themed game who gave me, one of her dachshund meeples. She calls them deeples, of course. And so I took the little component that Johnny was using in place of a dog and just put this gigantic dachshund down. It's only gigantic on that tiny
On
board,
that
but
tiny board, yeah.
Yeah, so
yeah, I thought it was a fun visual.
yeah, it was great. Even though the dog ruined me in the game.
Yeah, it
Yeah, so
did.
we had that, and there was a ghost that moves around and scares people, and it's a quick, fun little game. One that gets a decent amount of play here in my house.
Well, and you guys, once you guys left the table to go check on something, I was talking with Johnny as he was packing it up, and I was talking about how like it would be really cool if there was a deluxe version of that made, where the board was like an old Mancala board that was wooden and like folded up, and then when you pulled it out, it had like the stores like engraved into the wood. That'd be super cool.
You should make that. Well, I mean, Don's the woodworker. I mean, Mark, Don made his gaming table.
Oh, sweet. I'll have to
Such
see
as it
that
is.
someday. Such as it is.
It was one
Well,
of my
the only
2020 can't go anywhere projects.
yeah, it's
Nice.
just the paint that's coming off Don. Everything else about it's great.
Yeah, I cannot figure out the paint, but thank you. Shall I do my number 1?
Yeah,
I don't know that I had these in a particular order, but the last one on my list is
it's in an
Barony.
order now. I mean, this is the
Yes,
best
it
thing
is
you
now.
did.
Barony is the best thing that I did at the con. So Barony is a game by Mark Andre, the designer of Splendor. Um, it is a completely different game. It's an area control game. This is a game I've been trying to get Will to play for, I don't know, at least a year.
It may be longer.
And it just never kind of shows up when we get together to play games. And though I have had it at every con over the last year or two, and it has been played, you're just always somewhere else. But I would say it's chess-like in that you have a certain number of pieces and there's a certain number of actions you can do. It's a very simple, set of choices. You can put knights out, you can move knights, you can turn knights into villages, you can turn villages into cities. You're gathering resources when you build things, and you can use those resources to buy points. And every time you build a city, you get some points. And it's all about, like, thematically, you're trying to become the king by rising up from baron to duke to viscount to whatever until you get to the top. And I don't know, it's just an elegant game. It's got kind of interesting art. it's not the best art in the world, but I like it. It's got, I don't know, I think the right vibe for that game, and it's got
Well,
these chunky
except for
wooden
the
pieces.
water. Except for the water. The water tiles are very clearly like a picture taken on a really old cell phone and dropped on there.
It kind of feels like it. So the three of us played that, and enjoyed finally teaching you the game. I think it was a really good session of that game specifically, and I don't. It's just one I enjoy every time. Mark Andre has a couple of games that I like Splendor. Splendor is a good game, but I enjoy Barony more, and I enjoy Majesty for the Realm more, which is another of his games. And so it's kind of fun to have somebody who's known for one game, and then you discover they've got these other games that are even better. And so that was my number one.
Yeah, and so this is the only game that Don said, no, we're playing this time. Like, because
Mhm.
Don's pretty easygoing. He's like, "Hey, what do you play?" He's like, "Yeah, whatever." And then someone will recommend something. He's like, "Okay." But no, this time he's like, "We're playing this. Sit down." type vibe. It was a pretty fun game. It's not, I don't know if it's my favorite game, but I would play it again, despite Don's victory. Or did you win that, Mark?
I got close. I don't know if I won.
It was neat that we were all in the same close-ish
Yeah.
at the end,
It was close.
which I do appreciate. Even that always made just feeling like maybe you could win if only you did one thing better. It was always a very cool feeling. All right, so that's the end of this quick episode here now. But before we can go, Mark,
Hmm.
what are your gaming words of wisdom?
Oh boy.
This is
I'm
just
excited
Um,
not to be stuck with this time.
Gaming.
Oh, we can bring it back to you, Don.
Gaming words of wisdom. When teaching a 3.5-year-old to play a 5+ game, have patience and he'll get it. That was my experience.
And what is the 5+ game?
This was Magic School. It's a matching memory game that uses the theme of magic and vampires and all that sort of stuff. It was really great. You lay out cards, and as you lay them out, you look at them and you place them face down, and then you have to remember that is because you're going to draw another card that might match it, and so you have to put that object that matches that character on top of it. So.
Yeah, and this was one of the games that was actually a prize that we won at the Protospiel. And
Yeah.
there were probably not many people in there who had been excited to get the game for 5-year-olds, and it happened to go to the person that was. So that was actually really cool.
I was very pleased.
All right, so
Right.
Don, did you feel left out? Do you need to give us some gaming words of wisdom?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
All right, everybody. So that's the end of this relatively quick episode. And so, as always, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, share, maybe join the channel, do all of those things. Go order a copy of Backyard Chickens, and I don't know what we can do for you, Mark. So
Just keep playing games.
there we go. All right. Thank you all so much for watching or listening. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Say goodbye, Mark.
Oh, bye.
Wait, I see your eyes moving.
Maybe he's just that.
He might be doing a bit. I don't know.
Oh, Audio Technica 2020, baby. I got a fancier microphone, but I just didn't want to pop out the audio interface. Just it's in this it's right here.
Look, I have more games than I have shirts, is what
Yeah.
they said.
Pretty much.
I'm excited. We're going to lunch to a place called Deho,
Mhm.
which sometime you're down here, we'll have to try it. Yeah, Mark, you just do a Google image search right now.
No, I'm not gonna Google search that.
It's food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's this. Like he clearly sat down with one mission, which was to destroy,
Yeah, totally.
and then
In Lions of Lydia.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we're out. No, we're almost out.